Hello folks, what's going on? This is Word here, and I have for you another Heart of the Swarm game with Minigun, as a matter of fact. I know I just put one up, but the replays of him are plentiful, and I really do like Minigun. He's one of my favorite players. Not to take anything away from his opponent, but let's introduce the Protoss player first. Playing for Root Gaming in the lower left corner of Daybreak, the red Protoss, he is Minigun. Alright, and his opponent, the famous, the infamous IdrA, playing for Team Evil Geniuses. He's the Blue Zerg, and he's spawning in the upper left. IdrA. I wanted to make more Zergy noises, but unfortunately my mouth is not shaped like theirs. I can't make the sounds necessary. So we are going to be here on Daybreak, folks. Again, this is a Heart of the Swarm match. If you haven't gotten it by now, I am only doing Heart of the Swarm. At least, if I can't get... I don't know if the client's going to work while the beta's down, like in terms of loading our replay, so I might be uploading some Wings of Liberty content till then. This particular match I may be uploading after the beta is down. As I said in a couple of my earlier casts, I am working on kind of making a stash of Heart of the Swarm games so that I can keep uploading, you know, good content even while the beta is down, because otherwise I'm not sure whether or not I'll be able to access it. A question that could probably be answered by me posting on a forum or something, but since we're less than a day away from the thing closing, I'm just going to go ahead and wait and see. I guess that's how I roll. That's probably not good, huh? But anyway, we're going to see Minigun coming here. It's got nothing too crazy to talk about in the beginning, so I will take this opportunity to let you guys know, if you haven't heard already, I do cast for Clarity Gaming, as of course indicated by that little graphic in the beginning, which is actually very awesome. And one of the things I do for them is Spotlight on Clarity, which is an interview and show match series. It is every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. EST. The way it works is I bring on a player from Clarity for about a half-hour to 45-minute interview, and after that, we get to see their skills in a best-of-7 show match against another pro gamer. So you learn a lot about a player, and then you see how they fare on the battlefield in StarCraft 2. So it's a lot of fun. It's a really good time, and it's just I think it's a really good mix of content, getting the personal and professional side of a pro gamer. So I definitely recommend you tune in, guys. Again, that's every Wednesday at 9 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time, and it's going to be on twitch.tv/thehandsome_nerd. Definitely recommend checking that out. Last week, or this week I should say, because today's only Thursday, so I actually did it yesterday. I had Young on from Clarity Gaming. He is a very good Protoss, GM level, both in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, and he had an amazing, amazing show match series against FXO's Lucky. It was down to the wire. I don't want to spoil it, but trust me when I say you will not be disappointed. Had the pleasure of casting with FX Open Esports Seeker, as he also was on the show to do translating. Very awesome, guys. So I definitely recommend that episode and future episodes, so be sure to tune in every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. EST, twitch.tv/thehandsome_nerd. That is right, folks. So we're going to see IdrA going for the 3-hatch build in response to the Nexus. And again, nothing too crazy. There's certain maps in Heart of the Swarm where we see Gateway expands, most notably Howling Peak. But I don't want to beat that horse to death. I've talked about it before. Basically, it's the only map where you're almost guaranteed to see it, just because Forge Fast expands don't work as well. We do see IdrA has done something interesting here. He's gone for a gas opening, and it makes me feel like it's going to be a speed opening. I feel like he's going to be pulling these drones off, and I've seen this a lot in Heart of the Swarm lately. You kind of need it now, because there's a lot of pressures that can come out from the Protoss. Alright, okay, he's going to pull off a gas. Now, with the Mothership Core and Recall, and especially with Gateway spans kind of coming into popularity again, you've got to be on the defensive, you've got to be ready. And pumping out a bunch of slow lings. Wow, I'm stumbling all over. I apologize, guys. Anyway, back on track. Pumping out a bunch of slow lings against a 4-gate pressure with a Mothership Core when your opponent can just recall, he's probably going to end up doing a ton of damage, and, you know, he might not even recall. Speedling's going to make him think twice, and yeah, it sucks. I mean, you got to get that gas. You're going to sacrifice a little bit of economy for it, but you're also going to get yourself some very good map control. You're going to be able to get rid of proxy polens and stuff like that. So in terms of dealing with any kind of Mothership Core early pressure, speed is a good investment that definitely pays off. So that is a little bit of reasoning why we've seen speed from Zergs in these later few games, if you've been watching a lot of Heart of the Swarm. We're going to see Minigun is opening Stargate here. IdrA is in position to scout that. Hasn't seen it yet. Minigun is going to be starting with Phoenixes, and Phoenix openings I want to say just as good as they were in Wings of Liberty. No, they are better. Phoenix, of course, got a boost of 1 range, which actually makes a lot of difference. It makes the Spore Crawler placement for Zerg much less effective. Makes it easier to pick off Overlords and Queens because you can just stay out of that range. We're going to see the initial Zealot and Stalker push coming here from Minigun. It looks like he's forced a few Lings out of IdrA, 12 on the map, and Speed's going to be finishing soon. In fact, right now. So these units are just gone. He's probably going to be able to catch up with that Stalker too, and yeah, that's the thing you got to worry about. Minigun wasn't able to scout that gas, but I think the new metagame is going to form into a spot where this Zealot Stalker push is just not going to happen very much anymore. With so many Zergs getting speed early on, you're guaranteed to lose these units, whereas with you know, the normal style of Zealot Stalker push with a Zerg not getting speed until much, much later, you'll lose the Zealot, but never the Stalker unless you happen to get trapped, and that's your fault. That is your fault, you lazy Protoss. Micro that Stalker properly. We're going to see IdrA coming in here, and he is going to get a scout off on the Phoenix count as well as the Stargate, which is very nice because sometimes you can see a Stargate and not know where your opponent is producing out of it. In this case, he's going to see all 3 Phoenixes. He's going to know exactly how to prepare. We do see the Spore Crawlers going up immediately. Fun fact, of course, you do not need an Evolution Chamber for the Spore Crawlers, but of course, most builds are going to have one in it anyway, so you can get those upgrades. Now, the benefit of Phoenix builds is even if you can't get in that middle line and pick off a Queen, pick off the drones, you can always kill those Overlords, and these suckers will always go around the map, keeping those down. Looks like there's only 1 Overlord left. Minigun, of course, not quite aware of it at the moment, but this Pylon will spot it. Right now, he's going to try and get in there and get damage while the damage getting is hot. In fact, it looks like he will be able to get this Queen. No, actually, a great Spore Crawler positioning by IdrA is going to protect his creep-spreading Queen, too. And if he's on top of things, he can actually bring this with her. Kind of make it a buddy system situation. As we all know, the Spore Crawlers burrow quite quickly, so the Spore Crawler can just keep her safe. The Phoenix is going to come in here, start doing some damage. He's also going to scout the Hydralisk Den for IdrA, which is going to be a useful bit of information. And this Phoenix is going to pick off this Overlord. So far the Phoenix is doing a pretty good job. 3 Overlords there, a couple Queens here. Doesn't look like, I don't think any drone kills yet. Nope, that's a 0-0 in that worker tab there. It looks like IdrA's making a few speedlings here. He does, of course, have the scout on this 3rd base. And he's going to want to try to prevent that. Do a little bit of pressure. He's still droning up behind it. We see he just popped like 10 drones out. The drone count right now, 62 to 60. And Minigun, I think more than any other Protoss player I see, produces probes like a madman. He also has a bad habit of overproducing them, but I know he's trying to work on it. And starting off with 60 probes by the 10-minute mark is actually quite good. That you're definitely on the fast track to being over 80, which isn't really where you want to be as a Protoss, but I'm sure he's starting to nail that down. Now, IdrA is getting this Hydra speed. We're seeing a Hydra Ling composition, another thing that's popped up a lot more. The Phoenix is going to be coming in here, and depending on how many Hydralisks IdrA can pop up, and in this case it's going to be 8 Hydras, sometimes you'll see Phoenixes. Wow, I actually picked up that larva. Sometimes you'll see Phoenix pick off Hydras one by one, just like this. Once he gets into that big ball of Hydras, though, that's when it's not going to work anymore. And of course, the Spore Crawler is helping quite a bit. He actually has a total of 6 Spore Crawlers spread throughout his bases, so it's not hard to deflect that. Behind this, Minigun going for fast Colossus. And, I mean, he saw that Hydralisk Den. It's a very good transition. And Colossus is going to cover you in the mid-game pretty much, period. Unless your opponent's going for heavy Roach, which you can generally tell they aren't based on heavy Link production. And, of course, scouting that Hydralisk Den is a pretty big indicator as well. But, actually, this is what I'm talking about here. It's just producing Swarm Hosts, Colossi, Dynamite against Hydras. Pretty good against Swarm Hosts as well. And, you know, they're not like amazing. Like, they're not going to be game-changing. But you're almost certainly going to die without them is the thing. Once the Swarm Host numbers get really, really big, like 10 or more, you just eventually even the Colossus start to get overwhelmed. But when it's in these mid-game stages, it looks like IdrA's going to have 8 Swarm Hosts out, all told, in a few moments. Going to have that Enduring Locust upgrade as well, which lets those Locusts travel a little bit farther before they die. Hold on, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so the number is going to be manageable by Colossi, absolutely. Right now, Minigun is producing his first one. He's got range on the way as well. And, you know, the Locusts, they're like tiny little Hydralisks. They do good damage, but they get burned through very quickly. Not to say it's a bad thing, of course. I mean, they're free units. They do that damage, but you got to be able to kill them. And without Colossi, it's just no good. Colossi are definitely the anti-swarm host unit at the moment, barring any kind of, like, air unit. Like, we're going to assume that any good Zerg player is not just going to put his swarm hosts here with no Hydralisk or Queen support, so you're not going to be able to send a single Void Ray to kill them. You need Colossi to deal with it. Storms, I mean, they have the same effect. Hold on, we're going to see the engagement coming in here. I like how I tell myself to hold on. He's going to force field away some of these units, but the Locusts do manage to get through, and they are dealing that good damage. .8 weapon speed, doing 13. Yeah, they're just basically tiny Hydralisks, guys. Almost as much health as them, too. But, of course, they do have a timer, and that timer is about to expire. There, the Locusts do go down. Now, what I was saying before, Storms do the same job as Colossi, of course, but you are expending a resource there. You're expending energy, which you later want for use. You want to storm Hydralisks. You don't want to storm Locusts. You're wasting energy on free units, and that's not where you want to be. Locust's going to expire here in a little bit, but they are pushing Minigun back. He's not going to be allowed to take a fast fourth, and IdrA can just keep sieging this position while making more and more Swarm Hosts. We also see a Spire getting in construction and a Dark Shrine for Minigun. So the Spire here for IdrA, of course, Corruptor is going to be very useful at countering the Colossi, as well as taking care of any Phoenix here. I also want to mention, he picked off the Observer here with the Overseer. So crucial. This means your opponent can't try to do anything fancy with Tempests if he happens to go for that tech route. And, of course, knowing where the Swarm Hosts are is a huge disadvantage in Swarm Host play, as, of course, Minigun, I mean, he has a pretty good idea of where they are, but not knowing exactly where they are, it's very hard to stage an attack properly against them. He's going to blink ahead and actually pick off a couple of them. Very nice, and his force field expires with good timing as well. Only gets the 1, but still, 1 is better than none, although it is the loneliest number that you'll ever know. Now, the Dark Shrine coming up here for Minigun 2, very good decision. We've got the Warp Prism out for him. He's trapped in his base by these Swarm Hosts. Okay, he can't get out. What's he going to do? Okay, well, I'm going to put pressure on the Zerg the best way I can. I'm going to do some DT pressure with outside of the base Warpins, 4 DTs coming in. Now, there are Spore Crawlers everywhere, and, you know, it's something to consider. Why is Minigun going for DTs when he knows his opponent has detection at each base? Well, he doesn't have Spine Crawlers. His army is currently sieging this position, although it looks like Minigun is getting ready to attack it. He wants to distract his opponent while he slips these DTs into the mineral lines, and he's going to start getting on top of these Swarm Hosts. It looks like the Mothership Core going to get picked off. The Time Warp's going down from it, trying to prevent something, or trying to prevent those Locusts from reaching. Does he have an Observer? Yes, he does. Meanwhile, the DTs are moving in here, starting to do serious damage. The drone surround going to end up cleaning up the rest of those, but it looks like he is going into every single mineral line that he can. Currently, 1 DT left on the map. How many drone kills did he get? 10. 10 drone kills, probably not enough to make 4 DTs worth it. However, okay, that guy's going to go down. No, it's not the best investment there for Minigun. And we're going to see IdrA continuing to push forward. Now, I want to know, where's that Observer? Okay, so it's with the army. He's going to be able to see the Swarm Hosts, but still, it's just once you get up to these crazy numbers, they start to become really unmanageable. We have 11 Swarm Hosts here for IdrA, and a lot of Hydralisks here as well. 13 Swarm Hosts totally, starting to push forward the main base. He's at the point where he's thinned off enough of the Protoss army, burned up that force field energy, done some serious damage, not a lot of sentries left even, that he can just start doing this. And the Locusts coming in here doing a lot of damage. We see the Colossi go through them rather quickly. We have a mass Zealot Warpin from Minigun's Warp Prism going to take out the 4th base of IdrA. That's going to slow him down a little bit, but is he going to be able to deal with this army entirely? It's such a good position for IdrA too. Minigun can't hit all these Swarm Hosts at once. They're staggered very nicely, and this particular corner is great for these Corruptors going to try to come in here and charge. However, of course, there's the downside of that. The Locusts are not going to fire out in a unified way, so some of them can get burned off in little waves instead of just one big swell. So, I mean, there's disadvantages to that position here, too. We see Minigun is possibly going to lose a Colossus here. IdrA coming in here to focus them down with the Corruptors. A lot of Stalkers here, and he's getting further and further away from the Swarm Host, which means those Locusts are going to be a little bit weaker. They're going to die a little bit sooner, which will allow him to start picking off these Hydralisks, but a lot of the infrastructure for Minigun has actually gone down. 3 of the gateways here at the front of his base, down to 8, a pretty good number, but as you can see, Minigun has a lot of bank that he's not quite able to use. If he had a few more gateways, his supply would definitely be up there. IdrA is falling below his opponent, though, in supply. A couple of the Swarm Hosts have been picked off. The Stalkers, though, doing wonders picking off those Corruptors, but now all the Colossi are dead, which means these Locusts have pretty much free reign, doing free damage, and this Nexus, I think, is going to go down. Unless he can get a Colossus out here very quickly. We do have 1 in production. It is about to pop out. Minigun's going to do the best he can to save it, but it gets focused down by the Locusts and Hydras. He's going to blink ahead to try to make sure this is not worth it for IdrA, but he's blinking ahead into Hydralisks, and that is a very dangerous game to play because of that high DPS. Meanwhile, the Zealot Warpin has cleaned up the 3rd base. He's killed the Spire. He's killed the Infestation Pit, or at least he's working on it. And now it's kind of a base race situation, except they're not really trading armies. It's literally who can do the most damage to their opponent's economy in the shortest amount of time. And we see Minigun is going to expand up to the upper left. He is going to pick up this Warp Prism, IdrA is, so he's actually going to clean up this pressure on his side of the map. And now we're back to a little bit more of a divisive map situation. But where do these players stand? With 82 probes for Minigun, 59 drones for IdrA, they've both lost most of their mining bases, only 1 mining base for each player. And if we take a look at the units lost tab, it's relatively even. So it's broken quite even. However, IdrA's composition is better than miniguns. It's a bit more effective. Upgrade-wise, if we take a look, we see miniguns got 3-1 to the 2-1 of IdrA. So there's something to take note of. But okay, the Swarm Host might have gotten a little bit forward. Hold on, guys. IdrA, or actually Minigun with 2 Colossi out now. It's all going to depend on where he engages. He needs to pull back here. Nice surrounding that Immortal from IdrA. He's going to pick that off. And the Swarm Hosts are armored, so they will take the extra damage from the Immortal. But in general, just losing any unit here for Minigun is bad. Off of 2 mining bases, every unit's really going to count. His bank has since gone down because he hasn't been mining and he's just been warping in. Getting a Mothership Core. Actually, did Minigun have a Mothership Core at all? No, yeah, okay, he did. There were time warps. It was killed. I'm a fool. It's just going to be coming in. Has he seen this base? No. Might go to check for it. Yeah, he's going to go here. Oh, just one up the ramp, Zergling, right there. It's right there. Hold. Where are you going? Where are you going? Right there. Come on. Minigun, what is his sentry count? Only 0 sentries. That's a pretty low number. He also has a DT going across the map, but IdrA is getting ready to push in. The Swarm Host count is at 6. A manageable number. You see how quickly these Locusts die? There's a lot of Stalkers here, too. Blink Stalkers, decent against Hydralisks. There's better units to have, but if you want one unit to make up the bulk of your army realistically, it can't be Colossi, obviously. It's going to be Blink Stalkers against Hydras. Absolutely here. The DT going Lone Wolf on the Spore Crawler actually isn't even going to be able to kill that, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry that was what your career amounted to. Minigun is going to have this 4th base up, and IdrA's only going to have his 3rd up. He didn't remake the hatchery over at his real 3rd. Not for a very long time anyway. Although I think the DT might have come in here and forced that away. Because I mean, honestly, I didn't see it, and I apologize for that, but I want to think that IdrA would have remade this hatchery right away, because, I mean, he's a good player, so he's like, okay, I'm going to remake this base, I'm going to reclaim it, and I think the DT actually did come in and deny that, so never mind, DT. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt on that one. I might go back and check later. Of course, you guys probably saw on the minimap if you were watching. But that's something to take into account. I'm going to say the DT forced the cancel there. The DT didn't have a kill on him, so he didn't kill the hatchery, but he could have forced the cancel, that's for sure. Anyway. We see the Mothership Cores with this army now. Time Warp actually going to help quite a bit. It basically cancels out the Enduring Locust upgrade almost, depending on how well your Time Warps lay out. You're going to see some changelings with this army. How many will survive? Looks like probably not any, because they're very obviously placed. IdrA is going to get a scout, though. He's going to see there's no base there quite yet. Does he know about this northern one? No, he doesn't. The army's starting to mass up. We got Corruptors in here now. The composition's so good for both of these players, but it is still a little bit better for IdrA. He's coming in here with a lot of Hydralisks. The Colossus count up to 4, though. The wave of Locusts is burned away before this engagement is happening. That means the Colossi are going to be able to do the same thing to the Hydralisks. The Corruptors focusing them down. There are a lot of Blink Stalkers here, and very few Hydras now starting to get thinned out. Here come the Locusts, though, to support. And Stalkers don't kill Locusts nearly as quickly as the Colossi do. They're a little bit like Zergling. Stalkers shoot slow. The Locusts are going to absorb a lot of shots. Meanwhile, they're able to deal that damage, and the Hydra's going to be able to do the same thing. So with these Colossi gone, Minigun's going to be put in a bit of a rough position. He does not want to stay and defend against those Locusts. He knows it's going to be a bad trade for him no matter what, so he goes forward. He snipes this hatchery. It's a very good decision by the Protoss player. IdrA going to try to chase him back. And Hydras are fast, but not quite fast enough to catch Stalkers. And with this blink, of course, Minigun is extra super duper mobile. How many Swarm Hosts do we have left? Still 6 Swarm Hosts here, and we're going to see a little bit of a 2-pronged attack. The Corruptor is dropping some Corrupt on Minigun. Right now, his unit composition is pretty much pure Stalker. 3 Zealots and a Sentry mixed in there somewhere, but a huge arc of Hydralisks is going to focus down this Nexus yet again, but this is the really important one that IdrA should be so worried about. I like how Minigun actually has Zealots positioned in the mineral line here in case of Zergling run-bys. Very good. Very good. Doesn't want to invest the minerals in cannons right now. Doesn't even want to put cannons in his mineral lines to disrupt that mineral income, but although it's mostly the cannon investment that's keeping him from doing it. And the Zealots, I mean, charge lots in theory are okay against Hydralisks, but now with their speed and considering how fast Hydras do damage, you need a lot of them. So right now, he'd rather devote his money to Blink Stalkers, go for that micro, one of his strong suits for sure. Gonna work on some Zealots here to tank. His gas is getting a little low. Needs to saturate it over at his base, but here comes the engagement. And again, there's not a lot of Swarm Hosts here, so there's not a huge buffer for the Hydralisks. That could be a problem. The Corruptor is going to deal with this Colossus pretty quick. The Blink micro from Minigun saving quite a few of these, and with Archons mixed into this, it looks like he is just going to power through everything, and IdrA is going to be leaving this game. That is a victory for Minigun. Very cool Heart of the Swarm game. I'm loving this new Hydrolink composition, really a lot of extra mobility for the Zerg, and this was 100% of the problem with this game. I mean, IdrA was trading pretty well. We see there it's dead even all the way to the end, but Minigun had the space up. IdrA still didn't know about it, didn't discover it at all until he watched the replay, of course, and that probably had to sting. So that is really why Minigun won there. Composition was decent, but the economy was even better. So thanks for watching, guys. Please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't. I would really appreciate it. And of course, tune in for Spotlight on Clarity Wednesday at 9 on twitch.tv/thehandsomenerd, and that is Eastern Standard Time. I hope to see you there, and I'll see you at the next cast. Word up.